The flashlight shook in Officer Daniel Brooks's hand. He had worked at Blackstone State Prison for 11 years. He thought he had seen everything. Fights, escape attempts, smuggling, secrets hidden inside walls. But nothing like this. The old storage room beneath cell block D had been locked for years. Nobody used it anymore. Dust covered every shelf. Spider webs hung from the ceiling. Yet tonight, something felt wrong. A strange crack had appeared in the concrete floor. Daniel knelt down and brushed away dirt. His heart nearly stopped. There was empty space underneath. He called for backup. Minutes later, workers arrived with tools and broke through the floor. The sound echoed through the prison. Then the concrete collapsed. Everyone froze. A giant hole opened beneath them. A tunnel. Not a small tunnel. A huge tunnel. It stretched into darkness as far as their lights could reach. The walls were supported with wood beams. There were old footprints in the dirt. Rusty tools. Empty food cans. Someone had built this tunnel in secret. But that was not the worst part. One of the workers found an old newspaper buried inside. The date printed on it made everyone stare. 14 years earlier. The tunnel had been hidden beneath the prison for 14 years. Nobody had found it. Nobody had known it existed. And when Daniel shined his flashlight deeper into the darkness, he saw something lying at the far end of the tunnel. Something that should not have been there. Something that raised 100 new questions. But before anyone could reach it, a loud alarm suddenly exploded through the prison. And everything changed. 3 months earlier, Blackstone State Prison sat far away from any town. Gray walls surrounded the property. Tall fences covered with razor wire stretched across the land. Guard towers watched every corner. Most people believed nobody could escape from Blackstone. That was exactly why inmates feared it. Officer Daniel Brooks followed the same routine every day. Wake up. Drive to work. Check security reports. Walk the cell blocks. Go home. Life inside the prison was usually boring. Most days were quiet. The guards liked quiet days. Quiet days meant fewer problems. But strange things had started happening. Small things at first. Things that seemed unimportant. An inmate named Michael Turner reported hearing digging sounds late at night. The guards laughed. They thought he wanted attention. A week later, another inmate made the same complaint. Then another. The reports kept coming. Always the same story. Digging sounds. Scraping noises. Soft thumps beneath the floor. Daniel investigated. He searched empty cells. Maintenance rooms. Storage closets. Nothing. There was no evidence. No loose dirt. No broken concrete. No signs of digging. Eventually, everyone forgot about it. Life returned to normal. Or so they thought. One rainy afternoon, Daniel was walking through cell block D when he noticed something unusual. An inmate named Ryan Cooper stood quietly near his cell door. Ryan was different from most prisoners. He rarely spoke. Rarely caused trouble. Rarely attracted attention. But today, he looked nervous. Very nervous. His eyes kept moving toward the floor. Daniel stopped. "Everything okay?" he asked. Ryan quickly nodded. Too quickly. Then he walked away. Daniel watched him disappear down the hallway. Something felt wrong. That night, Daniel checked Ryan's prison records. Nothing unusual. No escape attempts. No violent incidents. No disciplinary problems. Yet Daniel could not shake the feeling. The next morning, he decided to search Ryan's cell. The search started normally. Books. Clothes. Letters. Nothing suspicious. Then Daniel noticed a tiny pile of dust behind the bed. It looked like ordinary dirt. But when he touched it, he discovered small pieces of concrete mixed inside. His stomach tightened. Concrete dust. Fresh concrete dust. Inside a prison cell. Daniel immediately ordered a deeper search. The mattress was removed. The furniture was moved. The walls were inspected. And then one of the guards suddenly shouted, "Officer Brooks! You need to see this!" Daniel rushed over. Hidden beneath the metal bed frame was something carved into the concrete floor. A small circle, almost invisible, like a secret marker. And as the guards began scraping away the dirt around it, the concrete suddenly cracked beneath their feet. Something was hidden underneath. Something that had been buried for years. And whatever it was far bigger than anyone inside Blackstone State Prison had imagined. The concrete crack spread across the floor like a spider web. Every guard in the cell stepped back. Officer Daniel Brooks stared at the small circle carved into the ground. His heart pounded. The concrete beneath Ryan Cooper's bed looked old, but something about it seemed different from the rest of the floor. One of the maintenance workers arrived with tools. The prison warden, Thomas Reed, came as well. Within minutes, several guards surrounded the cell. Nobody spoke. The room felt heavy. Everyone sensed they were about to uncover something important. The worker carefully struck the concrete. A sharp sound echoed through the cell. Then another strike. And another. Small chunks broke away. Dust filled the air. Finally, a section of the floor collapsed. A dark opening appeared beneath it. The guards immediately pointed their flashlights into the hole. Nobody moved. Nobody blinked. There was empty space below. A narrow shaft dropped several feet into darkness. The opening was just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Daniel felt chills run down his back. Someone had hidden this beneath a prison cell. For how long? And why? The warden ordered the area sealed immediately. No inmates were allowed near cell block D. The discovery spread through the prison faster than wildfire. Every inmate seemed to know about it within hours. Rumors exploded everywhere. Some claimed it was an escape route. Others believed it led to buried money. A few whispered about a secret prisoner who had vanished years ago. Nobody knew the truth. Not yet. Later that evening, Daniel sat in his office reviewing old prison records. He searched maintenance reports dating back many years. Most were ordinary. Broken pipes. Electrical repairs. Damaged doors. Then one file caught his attention. 14 years earlier, workers had reported strange settling beneath cell block D. The report recommended a full inspection. But the inspection never happened. The paperwork simply stopped. No explanation. No follow-up. Nothing. Daniel frowned. That made no sense. Prisons documented everything. Why would a report suddenly disappear? He dug deeper. Hours passed. Outside, rain tapped against the windows. Most of the prison had gone quiet. Then Daniel found another strange detail. 14 years ago, 3 inmates assigned to maintenance crews had been transferred out within the same month. Their names appeared repeatedly in records connected to cell block D. After that, their files became unusually thin, almost as if somebody had removed information. Daniel printed the records. Something important was hiding in the past. He could feel it. The next morning, a special inspection team arrived. Workers lowered cameras into the shaft. Everyone gathered in a security room to watch the live video feed. The camera descended slowly. Dust covered the walls. Loose dirt filled the bottom. Then the tunnel appeared. Gasps filled the room. The passage stretched far beyond the camera's light. Wooden supports lined the sides. The tunnel was carefully built. Not by amateurs. Whoever created it knew exactly what they were doing. The camera continued forward. 10 feet. 20 feet. 30 feet. The tunnel kept going. Nobody could believe it. A hidden passage beneath one of the most secure prisons in the state. And somehow it had escaped detection for years. Suddenly the camera passed something lying on the ground. Daniel leaned closer. A shovel. Old and rusty. Then another tool appeared. And another. The deeper the camera traveled, the more objects appeared. Food wrappers. Water containers. Pieces of rope. Evidence that people had spent a long time down there. Weeks. Months. Maybe years. Then the camera reached a wider section of the tunnel. Everyone in the room fell silent. Words had been carved into the dirt wall. Large words. Still visible despite the years. Daniel read them aloud. If you found this, you're already too late. The room became completely quiet. Nobody laughed. Nobody spoke. The message felt wrong. Like a warning. Or a threat. The camera operator continued moving forward. The tunnel curved slightly. Then something appeared at the edge of the screen. A shape. At first, nobody understood what they were seeing. The camera moved closer. Daniel's eyes widened. A wooden door. A full-sized wooden door buried deep underground beneath the prison. The camera stopped. The room filled with nervous whispers. Who would build a door inside a secret tunnel? What was hidden behind it? The warden ordered an immediate exploration team. Within an hour, guards and investigators entered the tunnel. Daniel went with them. The air felt cold underground. Every step echoed through the darkness. Their flashlights danced across the dirt walls. Eventually they reached the door. Up close, it looked ancient. Dust covered every inch of it. The wood was cracked with age. Yet somehow it still stood. Daniel slowly reached for the handle. Every guard watched. His hand wrapped around the metal knob. He took a deep breath. Then he pushed the door open. The beam from his flashlight swept into the hidden room beyond. And what he saw inside made him stumble backward in shock. Officer Daniel Brooks stumbled backward so fast that he nearly fell. The flashlight shook in his hand. For a moment, nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The hidden room beyond the wooden door looked impossible. Rows of shelves lined the walls. Old boxes sat stacked from floor to ceiling. Rusty lanterns hung from hooks. There were chairs, tables, blankets, water containers, even a small cot. It looked like someone had secretly lived underground beneath Blackstone State Prison. 4 years. The room was covered in dust now, but it had once been used often. Very often. The guards slowly entered. Every corner held another surprise. One investigator opened a box. Inside were dozens of old prison maps. Another box contained maintenance records. A third contained newspaper clippings. The deeper they searched, the stranger things became. Daniel picked up one of the newspapers. The date froze him. It was 14 years old. The same year the tunnel had supposedly been built. The same year the missing inspection report had disappeared. Something important had happened back then. Something someone wanted hidden forever. The investigators spent hours examining the underground room. Most of the items were old. Some were falling apart. But one discovery stood out above everything else. A locked metal cabinet. Unlike everything around it, the cabinet looked sturdy, deliberately protected. Almost as if someone had wanted its contents to survive. The investigators carefully forced it open. Inside were notebooks. Dozens of them. Every notebook was numbered. Every page was filled with neat handwriting. Daniel opened the first one. The entries began 14 years earlier. They described digging, planning, measurements, schedules, guard patrol routes. It was a detailed record of the tunnel's construction. Whoever wrote it had documented everything. Page after page. Month after month. Year after year. The room fell silent as Daniel turned the pages. Then he found something that made his stomach tighten. Names. Real names. Not inmate numbers. Not nicknames. Actual names. Some belonged to prisoners. Others belonged to prison workers. And one name appeared over and over again. Samuel Hayes. Daniel frowned. He knew that name. Samuel Hayes had once been a senior maintenance supervisor at Blackstone. 14 years ago. The same period connected to every strange clue. But according to prison records, Samuel Hayes had retired years earlier and moved away. Why was his name inside the notebooks? And why did it appear so often? The investigation expanded immediately. Detectives began searching old records. Phone logs. Maintenance reports. Personnel files. At first, nothing unusual appeared. Then another strange fact emerged. Samuel Hayes had not simply retired. He had left suddenly. Very suddenly. 1 week he was working normally. The next week he was gone. No farewell party. No public announcement. Nothing. almost as if he had vanished. Daniel could not stop thinking about it. That night he sat alone in his office reading more notebook entries. Outside, the prison was quiet. Most inmates were asleep. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Hours passed. Then he reached one of the final entries. His eyes widened. The handwriting grew shaky, uneven, almost frightened. The writer described an argument underground, a disagreement among several people involved in the tunnel. The details were unclear. Names were missing. But one sentence stood out. "We never should have let him see the second chamber." Daniel reread it. Second chamber. His pulse quickened. The room they discovered wasn't the only hidden room. There was another one. Somewhere. Daniel immediately returned to the tunnel the next morning. A larger team followed him underground. They searched every wall, every support beam, every corner. For hours they found nothing. The investigators began losing hope. Perhaps the second chamber had collapsed years ago. Maybe it no longer existed. Then one of the workers called out. His voice echoed through the tunnel. "Over here!" Everyone rushed toward him. The worker stood beside the far wall of the hidden room. His flashlight pointed at a section of dirt that looked slightly different from the rest. The color was lighter. The texture was smoother, almost as if someone had covered something up. The team carefully began digging. Minutes passed. Then wood appeared beneath the dirt. More digging revealed a large wooden panel. A concealed entrance. The investigators exchanged nervous looks. Slowly, they removed the remaining dirt. A hidden hatch emerged, bigger than anyone expected. Daniel felt the same chills he had felt when they first discovered the tunnel. Whatever lay beneath this hatch had been hidden intentionally. Someone had worked hard to make sure nobody would find it. For 14 years, they had succeeded. Until now. The workers lifted the hatch. Cold air rushed upward from below. A dark stairway descended into complete darkness. No one could see the bottom. The beam from Daniel's flashlight disappeared into the blackness. Silence filled the underground room. Then, from somewhere deep below, a faint sound echoed upward. Tap, tap, tap. Everyone froze. The sound came again. Tap, tap, tap. It sounded like footsteps, and it was coming from somewhere inside the second chamber. Tap, tap, tap. The sound echoed through the darkness beneath the hatch. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Officer Daniel Brooks stared into the black stairway. Every guard held their breath. The footsteps stopped. Silence returned. A cold feeling settled over the hidden room. One investigator swallowed hard. "Did everyone hear that?" he whispered. Everyone nodded. There was no doubt. The sound had been real. But that made no sense. The tunnel had been sealed for years. Nobody should have been down there. The warden immediately ordered extra officers into the area. No chances would be taken. Not now. Not after everything they had already discovered. Daniel switched on a stronger flashlight. Its beam reached farther into the darkness. Still, he could not see the bottom of the stairs. The team slowly began their descent. Each step creaked beneath their boots. Dust floated through the air. The deeper they went, the colder it became. 20 steps. 30 steps. 40 steps. Finally, the stairway ended. The investigators stepped into a massive underground chamber. Everyone froze. The room was enormous. Much larger than the first hidden room. The ceiling stretched high above them. Wooden supports held back the earth. Old lantern hooks lined the walls. It looked like a secret underground headquarters. Rows of shelves stood along one side. Large crates sat stacked in corners. Maps covered part of a wall. Some had become yellow with age. Others had almost fallen apart. Daniel slowly swept his flashlight across the chamber. Then he understood why someone had called it the second chamber. This place had been the real center of the operation. The first room was only a front. This room was where everything happened. The investigators began examining the evidence. Most items were old. Many were damaged. but some were surprisingly well preserved. One crate contained dozens of notebooks. Another held maintenance documents. A third contained photographs. Daniel carefully picked up one photograph. His eyes widened. The picture showed several people standing inside the tunnel during its construction. The image was grainy, old, but the faces were visible. Some belonged to inmates from 14 years ago. Others belonged to prison employees. And standing near the center was Samuel Hayes, the former maintenance supervisor, the man whose name appeared throughout the notebooks. Daniel placed the photo aside. Something bigger was happening here. Much bigger. Hours passed as investigators cataloged evidence. The chamber seemed endless. Every discovery created new questions. Then one detective made an important find. A locked filing cabinet hidden behind several crates. The cabinet was forced open. Inside were folders. Dozens of them. Each folder contained records, payments, schedules, construction notes. The tunnel had not been built by one person, or even a few people. It had involved a network, a secret group working together for years. The investigators could hardly believe it. All beneath one of the state's most secure prisons. And nobody had noticed. Daniel continued reviewing documents. Then he found something unexpected. A recent date. His heart skipped. Everything else in the chamber was 14 years old. But one document was only 6 months old. 6 months. That meant someone had entered this chamber recently. Very recently. The room suddenly felt different. Less abandoned. Less forgotten. The investigators quickly searched for additional clues. Fresh footprints were impossible to find because of years of dust and disturbance. But another discovery changed everything. Near the back wall stood a small metal door. Unlike the wooden entrances, this one looked newer. Much newer. The paint had not completely faded. The hinges showed less rust. Daniel crouched beside it. The lock had scratches. Recent scratches. Somebody had used it. Not 14 years ago. Recently. The investigators exchanged uneasy looks. The tunnel was no longer just a mystery from the past. It might still be active. The warden immediately ordered the entire prison placed on heightened security. Extra guards took positions throughout every cell block. Every inmate movement was monitored. Nobody would take risks. Meanwhile, Daniel focused on the metal door. Carefully, the team forced it open. A narrow passage stretched beyond. Unlike the old tunnel, this corridor looked cleaner. The walls showed fewer signs of age. The floor contained less dust. Someone had been here. There was no doubt now. The team followed the passage. It twisted beneath the prison. Left. Right. Left again. Nobody knew where it led. Minutes passed. The corridor seemed endless. Then Daniel noticed something ahead. A faint light. Very faint. Almost invisible. The investigators immediately stopped. Their hearts pounded. A light meant only one thing. Someone was there. Someone was inside the hidden passage at that very moment. The team quietly moved forward. Step by step. The light grew brighter. Voices drifted through the corridor. Real voices. Not echoes. Not imagination. Someone was speaking beyond the next corner. Daniel signaled for silence. Every flashlight switched off. The passage fell dark. Slowly, carefully, Daniel edged toward the corner. He took one look around it. And what he saw made his blood run cold. Standing inside a hidden underground room was a man everyone believed had disappeared 14 years ago. Samuel Hayes. And he was not alone. Officer Daniel Brooks felt his heart slam against his chest. It was impossible. Yet there he was. Samuel Hayes. The former maintenance supervisor who had disappeared 14 years ago. The man whose name appeared throughout the notebooks. The man connected to every clue. Standing in a hidden room beneath Blackstone State Prison. And he was not alone. 3 other people stood beside him. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Samuel looked older than the photographs. His hair was gray. His face was lined with age. but Daniel recognized him immediately. Samuel's eyes widened when he saw the officers. He knew the secret was over. "Police!" Daniel shouted. "Don't move!" The hidden room exploded into chaos. One of the men tried to run. Guards quickly blocked the passage. Another dropped to the floor and raised his hands. Within seconds, everyone inside the room was surrounded. The chase was over before it even began. After 14 years, the mystery had finally reached its end. Samuel slowly sat in a chair. He looked tired. Very tired. Like a man carrying a heavy burden for a long time. Daniel stared at him. "There is only one question," he said. "Why?" For several moments, Samuel said nothing. Then he looked around the room. At the tunnel. At the documents. At the officers. And finally, he began to speak. 14 years earlier, Samuel had supervised maintenance work inside Blackstone State Prison. During repairs beneath Cell Block D, he discovered an unused underground space beneath the prison. At first, it seemed like an interesting finding. Nothing more. But several inmates learned about it. Soon, a small group approached him. They offered money. A lot of money. They wanted help creating a secret tunnel. Not for escape. Not at first. They wanted a hidden place where stolen items, records, and illegal payments could be concealed. Samuel knew it was wrong. But greed got the better of him. He agreed. The project grew larger than anyone expected. More people became involved. A few prison workers secretly helped. Several inmates participated. The tunnel expanded year after year. Hidden rooms were added. Records were stored. Money changed hands. Everyone believed the secret would never be discovered. Then everything started falling apart. One member of the group threatened to expose everyone. Arguments broke out. Trust disappeared. Fear spread through the network. That was when Samuel vanished. Officially, he retired. Unofficially, he hid. Using the very tunnel he helped build. For years he moved between hidden locations connected to the underground passages. The others helped him stay hidden. They feared that if he were arrested, he would reveal everything. So they protected the secret together. Daniel listened carefully. The story sounded unbelievable. Yet every piece matched the evidence. The notebooks. The photographs. The missing reports. The hidden chambers. The mysterious records. Everything finally made sense. Investigators spent the next several weeks examining the entire tunnel system. The discoveries were enormous. Thousands of pages of hidden documents were recovered. Old financial records were uncovered. Corrupt activities from years earlier were exposed. Several former employees were identified and questioned. The tunnel itself became one of the most unusual discoveries in the state's history. News crews arrived from across the country. Experts examined the underground network. Many were shocked by its size. Some sections stretched far beyond the prison grounds. Others connected hidden storage areas. The tunnel had survived beneath Blackstone State Prison for 14 years without being discovered. Few people could believe it. As for Samuel Hayes, he eventually confessed to his role in creating and hiding the operation. The remaining members of the group also faced justice. One by one, the secrets were brought into the light. Months later, workers permanently sealed every section of the tunnel. Concrete filled the passages. The hidden rooms disappeared forever. The underground mystery was finally over. One quiet afternoon, Daniel stood outside Cell Block D, the same place where everything had begun. The floor had been repaired. The prison looked normal again. Almost. But Daniel knew better. Beneath those walls, beneath those floors, beneath years of routine and silence, a secret had lived unnoticed for 14 years. A secret large enough to fool guards, inmates, inspectors, and prison officials. A secret hidden in darkness. Until one small crack in the concrete changed everything. As Daniel walked away, he glanced back one last time. Most people would only remember the headlines. Most would only remember the tunnel. But he would remember something else. The lesson. Sometimes the biggest secrets are not hidden far away. Sometimes they are hidden right beneath your feet. And for 14 long years, that was exactly where this one stayed. The prison tunnel hidden for 14 years had finally been found.